In front of this house used to be a screened-in porch where us kids would sleep in the summertime. And now they've closed it in and made it part of the house. This used to be a beautiful yard. There was 3 big poplar trees here, silver maples we call them, that gave shade, and we had grass all the way around in a U shape all the way around the house, and there's a big lilac bush here, and we used to play baseball here on the lawn. And Mother used to always have a row of cosmos on each side of this sidewalk. And we had the tamarack hedge on the west side out here, and all back along the south side, which protected us from the wind, and our garden was in behind there. That tamarack hedge, as kids, 4 of us sons, we kept it trimmed. Mom used to send us out for switches in case we hadn't done things just exactly right. Yes. Around behind here is the old cellar, which we built, and my mother used to keep 2 years' supply of fruit in this old cellar. The door has been changed to the west side. We used to come out on the southwest side, and it was here that my brother Clayt one time surprised me, and unthinkingly I just hauled off and let him have it, and we woke him up a little later. We used to milk 11 cows all the time. We had a big shed out here, 11 stalls there. My father always kept 11 cows, and we used to take the milk down in this cellar and separate it with an old De La Valle separator. Many's the day that I've turned that De La Valle separator to grind out about 15 to 20 gallons of milk to get the cream out of it to be taken to the creamery. This well used to be a flowing well, artesian well, and it flowed enough water to run. We piped it out to our stock and used it for our chickens and hogs and everyone. We had it all piped out to the various pens and used it for all purposes. And here, right in the corner of the house, we used to have a door that opened to a big cooler that we would use to keep our milk and fruit and everything all in the summer and in the winter too. When we'd come in from out hunting geese and ducks and pheasants, we would keep them in that cooler.
Tell a story about the bedroom.
The room right by where the well is was where us boys used to sleep, and the front bedroom was where Dad and Mother used to sleep. We used to have, in the summertime, we would sleep out here on the lawn. We always had beds out here in behind the house, out on the lawn, where we would sleep in the summertime, all of us kids. If this old tractor isn't the F-24 that I used to drive when I was a kid in high school, it's so close to it that it's almost a duplicate. This is the lane where I watched 3 white-top buggies come out up this lane one cold winter day, bringing 2 of my sisters and a brother, Pauline and Catherine and Keith, who had died of the flu in the 1919 epidemic. They brought 3 of them out in one day, and I was so ill and Mother was, and my brother, that we were, and my brother Clayton, that we were propped up in front of the front room window where we could watch as the burial party went down the lane. The old porch that used to be on the front of this house is closed in now, but it was in behind that, looking out through the front room window, that my mother and my brother Clayt and I were propped up on the bed where we could watch the burial procession come down this lane. And there used to be a fence right here in front of me, and it was so covered with frost that the wires were about an inch thick, and all of the trees and everything were so covered with frost. The ground was frozen so hard that they had to dynamite to open the graves. The old granary that you can see in the back reminds me of the time that my brother had a BB gun, a little Daisy 500, and I had borrowed one of the neighbor kids' 500s. There was a pump gun, and he dared me to shoot him, and he stooped over, and I pumped it up and I shot him, and we spent about 30 minutes digging that pellet out from under the skin on his hind end. And of course, the tamarack hedge got trimmed a little bit more that day. That big old silver poplar tree there that is all dead, just snagged now, but had a tree house up in that I spent days building, and my younger brother and I, and we thought that was really something, that tree house. We lived in this home. I was born here and lived here until I was off to college. And it was while I was off to college that Mother and Dad moved uptown to a home they had uptown. And I can remember the wonderful meals that Mother cooked here. We grew everything that we ate, probably, and very little food did we ever have to buy. We had our own horses. We kept 12 to 14 teams of horses all the time to do our farming with, and we ran around 320 acres right through the middle of the Depression. Father had been foresighted enough to clear them of all taxes and everything, and we owned this home and 320 acres of land, and so we were in good shape as far as financially was concerned. The land never failed us, though it was during the Depression, and we ate well, but we grew everything that we ate. We had cattle and sheep and hogs and chickens, and we never kept a good 2 years' supply of fruit in that cellar all the time. And so all that we lacked during the Great Depression was cash, and that what little cash we got came from the sale of eggs and cream to the creamery, who came around twice a week to gather it up. We never suffered during the Depression for anything to eat, but it was hard to find cash enough to buy any clothing. I've often said that we were the fattest naked people in the country. On this lawn there have been many baseball practices. My oldest brother, William Irvin, was a pitcher. My brother Warren was a second baseman and shortstop, and I played catch, and my youngest brother Clayton was a first baseman and a pitcher, and we had quite a baseball team here, and 4 Strattons playing almost every minute of it. We used to have many a baseball practice right out here where I was catching my brothers as they were practicing their pitching. In this old home, many times, President Heber J. Grant sat at our table, and various apostles sat at our tables when they would come down for conference, which was usually held in Delta. My father was bishop when I was for almost 14 years. During the time that I was growing up, from the time I was 6 years old until around 6 years old, until I was in college before he was released. He was a bishop for almost 14 years, and this is the home where we've entertained many of the members of the 12 and President Heber J. Grant. This is the home that I brought my bride from Arizona, Patricia Frances Black. We came here the third day of our honeymoon. My folks had never met her, though I had written about her. They knew quite a bit about her, but this is the home where my parents lived when I brought her home for the first time to meet my parents. And needless to say, they were very much impressed and fell in love with her immediately. Right east of us was where Don A. Bishop lived, and he had 2 boys and 2 girls that grew up with the same us. And across the street from Don A. Bishop was the Hilton family, Hugh Hilton, and he had 6 girls and no boys. And we had a neighborhood full of kids here that we all played together. This old granary out here holds many fond memories for me. As a kid, we used to play in the grain that we had a big bin across the back half of it where we played all the time. Behind this old granary, we had our feeding lots where we fed out sheep and cattle every winter. We used to have a 2 double beds out in the back for us boys to sleep in the summertime. And we didn't have a tent over it or anything, just big canvases that we kept on it in the daytime in case of rain. And whenever we got a chance to sleep in after the sun came up, which was very rare, why, we always complained because the sun would come in under the trees and wake us up. So we never did get to sleep in the mornings.
That sounds good.
Walter Eakins this is Bishop Walter Eakins. He's the mayor of the town of Winslow now, of Hinckley. I'm getting all confused here as to where I live. And he's the man that baptized my wife, Patricia Frances, and of course the mother of my children. This farm in behind used to be one of our farms when I was a child, and we used to raise corn, alfalfa, potatoes, grain, all kinds of grain. This is it in the Hinckley graveyard where mother and father and 4 of my brothers and sisters are buried. Mother and father are buried side by side. Keith, Pauline, and Catherine are buried in one large grave together. They died during the flu epidemic of 1919. Keith died one day. Pauline died 1 hour later the next day, and Catherine died 1 hour later the next day. They were all three buried at the same time. And these are, when I mentioned three white top buggies coming out of the lane in the old home, that was what this was all about. Keith, Pauline, and Catherine were all buried at the same time. The little headstone to my left in the picture was a baby that was born and didn't live long enough to be named. This is the first home where Charles Abel and Emma Stratton lived when they first moved into Hinckley from the town of Abraham. Standing on the front doorstep, I'm looking towards the northwest, right across the intersection. There's two homes built in now that didn't used to be there, and that was our pasture for our home where I was born, which is just one block west of where I'm now standing. Each morning we used to have to get up and after the cows were milked, and drive them out to the pasture, which is only just about a block away. But we used to have one red cow that we could ride, and we used to ride her and drive the rest of them. This home is the home where Mother and Dad moved into, lived here just a few years before they died. And this was I never lived here, but just when I came home to visit the folks after I was fully grown.
And tell them about this.
This is the home that my mother and father were living in at the time when the picture was taken in Clifford James Stratton's history, showing the family group picture, and there was a little sign behind showing Project 41 or something, and they had won the first prize in home improvement, which was offered by the city in a campaign that they had to improve the city of Hinckley. When Mother and Dad decided to retire, they bought this home and decided that it was the best place in town to retire. They right across the street was a drugstore, confectionery, and just kitty cornered across the street was the general store, and right straight across the street to the west was a garage and service station. So they moved right uptown, and right within a half a block of the grade school was in the same block as the church, and Dad sold part of this property to the government where they built the post office. So they were right within a block of the church, the post office, a garage and service station, a general store, and a confectionery drugstore, and the grade school. And they were just a block and a half away from the high school, so they'd moved right into the center of the town. This is the home where I remember Cliff James and with his Uncle Warren, or Rock as we call him, and I were out, and Uncle Clayt went goose hunting, and we killed 4 nice geese, and when we came in that evening, Cliff wanted to carry them in and surprise his mother with the birds, and he wasn't big enough to carry them, but I'll never forget how proud he was carrying these geese, literally dragging them into the house, and how proud he was when it showed what we had gone out and caught. In this area, we've always had good pheasant hunting and goose hunting and duck hunting, and from here, 17 miles east of here, was always excellent deer hunting, and as a result, all of us Stratton boys spent a lot of time out hunting, and we're always very successful. This is the church that was built when Charles Abel Stratton was bishop of the Hinckley Ward, and it was right in the bottom of the depression. There was no work available that would pay any money or anything, and Dad conceived the idea of giving part cash and part labor, and the church put up, the LDS church put up half in there were matching funds of half in cash, and we worked on this church. We would get $2 in credit labor and $1 in cash, and the rest of the money that the church put up was spent for materials, and they were able to bring a little cash into the community and still build a beautiful chapel. This is where the font in here is where my wife, Patricia Francis, was baptized. I was baptized in the old Sevier River. This home right kitty-cornered across from the church was the old Milton Moody home. One of my very best friends when I was a kid growing up was named Bon Moody. I have many fond memories of this home. One memory is when three of us were standing on the front porch, and right across the street to the south of us, the lightning hit a tree, and the electricity almost knocked us down. And needless to say, it really frightened us. When we were in high school, Vaughn, I and a friend named Rex Reeves got dates with 3 Delta girls. And the town of Delta was quarantined for diphtheria, and Vaughn and I caught diphtheria as a result of running the quarantine, and he ended up with a bad heart, which about 5 years later was the cause of his death. This is the old Millard Academy, which later became Hinckley High School, a place where I went through high school. This was the old Millard Academy, built here by the LDS Church before the state of Utah took over the education of its citizens. And when that happened, then they changed the name of this to Millard Academy, to Hinckley High School. And right out on the front of this, up on where the hip of the roof comes out, one time on Halloween, a whole bunch of us boys disassembled a light wagon and carried it piece by piece up through the attic and up through and out on the roof, and reassembled it right out on the point. And the next morning, after Halloween, there was this wagon sitting right up there behind the flagpole that used to be right on the point. I continued my education from Hinckley High School by going to Branch Agricultural College in Cedar City, Utah for 1 year, then moved on down to Dixie College, where I attended 1 year and finished. There were 2 junior colleges, and from there I went on to Flagstaff, Arizona, to Arizona State Teachers College, which is now Northern Arizona University, and graduated there. Later attended school at Flagstaff and also at Denver University. And I taught school for 5 years before I went railroading for a summer job and found that I enjoyed the work much more and was more money involved too. So that's where I stayed until I retired after 37 years with the Santa Fe Railroad. My father, Charles Abel Stratton, and my mother, Emma Stratton, always encouraged us kids to get all the education we could. They had for their day, they had a very good education. And down in Virgin, they were attended the first 4 grades at Virgin, and then were taught by my mother's mother, my grandmother, who had been an instructress in England before she came to the United States, and she gave those kids in the Virgin Valley education far beyond that of the 4th grade. And Charles Abel Stratton was later able to go to St. George, where he attended an academy over there. He had the equivalent of, now it would be a 7th grade education, but in those days was a very good education. This is the field behind the old high school. At one time this was the football field and the baseball diamond. Also that there was 2 tennis courts. The Stratton family were all 4 of us brothers were very prominent in sports, playing football, baseball, running on the track, and playing basketball. We all 4 of us brothers lettered in all 4 sports for all 4 years that we were in high school.
Well, tell me that.
I remember my mother and my father was 2 of the most considerate and gentle people that I've ever known. They always had time to listen to your problems, and they always had very excellent advice, and they were very, very even-tempered all the time. They're just good, sound, level-headed people, and they were very prominent in the community of Hinckley. My father was bishop for 14 years, and on the drainage, president of the drainage district, and he was a county commissioner for a while, and at one time they chose the man that had done the most for the Millard County, and my father was chosen as that man, the man who had done the most for Millard County. He was involved in everything civic and community-wise that went on, and at the same time he was a very successful farmer and provided well for his family. Mother was always right behind Dad in everything that he did, and she was Relief Society president for some time, and did a lot of genealogy work, and as a bishop's wife, she was really tremendous and outstanding in her understanding of the responsibilities that he had and the way that she would help him in carrying on his responsibilities. She had 4 of us rough-necked boys, and our sister, Leah, that the part of the family that I grew up with and remember well. My oldest brother, William Irvin, we called him Spit. He was a baseball pitcher and was often accused of throwing spitballs, which later became illegal in baseball. And my sister Leah was the level-headed one of all of us. She had quite a job keeping us kids straight all the time. And the next one in this picture is my brother Clayton, and he was 2 years younger than myself, and he was a baseball pitcher, and all four of us were considered pretty good athletes. In fact, Stratton family dominated athletics in Hinckley High School for years. When my last brother, just 2 years older than myself, in this picture is Warren. We called him Rock. He got that from one summer he went out in Nevada and worked as a hard rock miner, and came back thinking that he was in pretty good shape and pretty tough, and we called him Rock. And finally, this is a picture of my wife, my sweetheart, and this is the end of the